In the deep void of space lay the planet of Shadowbrink, ruled by the Imperium. The world itself was a cathedral world, its surface structures devoted to saints of the Imperium, ruled by the iron fist of the Adeptus Ministorum. But Shadowbrink stood separate from other cathedral worlds. At its very core, it harboured a dark secret. During the Third Tyrannic War, Hive Fleet Levithan sought more worlds to consume, to harbour more biomass and produce more warriors for its eternal campaign of destruction. Their gaze soon fell upon the planet of Shadowbrink, and they launched their attack. What the Tyranids did not calculate is how well defended the planet was. It hosted 2 regiments of Cadian shock troops, 1 Vosgian regiment, 3 orbital defence platforms and 6 Imperial Navy destroyers. Adding to the defences hid another force, that of the Grey Knights. The Sons of Titan had a permanent garrison upon this world. Deep within the darkest places of the planet hid a secret that could bring damnation and ruin upon every soul. Hundreds of years before the planet flourished, an ancient Ariotech was discovered from the dark age of technology. It was given the name the Maelstrom Cradle. This technology gave off patterns of energies, a beacon of the warp that could summon terrible entities. The Inquisition tried to seek means of its destruction, but every attempt failed. It was determined by the highest authorities that the Grey Knights would be forever placed to watch over it. Daily they performed rituals of warding to keep the technology from unleashing its power. For years they have remained stalwart in their vigil. Soon enough, the Xenos force was in orbit over the planet of Shadowbrink. The Imperial forces unleashed their wrath upon the Tyranids. The battle in space was fierce. The defence platforms and the Imperial Navy tried to stop as many invaders as landing as possible. It took the Tyranid force 3 hours to completely overrun the orbital defences. With no one to hinder their push, billions of Tyranids now landed upon the surface and began their war of annihilation. The Imperial Guard regiments fought bravely. For every inch the Tyranids took, millions died. But the invading force was too strong. For every enemy felled, 2 more popped up to take its place. Defence positions, trenches and command areas were overrun, and the Imperial Guard began a full-scale retreat. Seeing the Tyranid threat nearing the garrison of the Grey Knights, its commander, Brother Librarian Caldon, decided to meet the foe head-on. He organised one last attempt to stop the Xenos foe. He rallied any Imperial Guard who could still fight. His brothers of the chapter marched by his side. Even 2 Dread Knights of the chapter were brought forward to combat this foe. The Tyranids were soon upon them, and they broke like water upon a stone. The might of the Grey Knights was unleashed. With flame, blade and bolter, they brought ruin. For a time, it seemed that they could weather this storm, but the forces of the Tyranid were just too vast in number. One by one, Grey Knights fell. The Dread Knights were brought down, and soon enough, Brother Librarian Cauldron fell as well. With the Grey Knights dead, the ancient seals protecting the Maelstrom Cradle cracked and faded, unleashing a warp rift on the surface of the planet. From it strode an ancient evil, the dreaded Quadfold Abominatum. This was not a single damnation by a Chaos God, but a pact by them all. 4 greater demons roared their rage, a great unclean one, a bloodthirster, a keeper of secrets, and a lord of change. They roared in triumph, finally being unleashed to bring ruin and despair, but their roars of triumph soon turned to roars of anger. They looked upon the planet and the battle around them, and the humans they sought to corrupt and feast upon had already fallen to another foe. The hive mind itself paid no heed to this new foe. Tyranids cared not for demons. They could not consume their biomass, hence it was a waste to battle them. They wanted to finish off the last remaining humans and head off to consume another world. This soon changed, as the greater demons focused their powers and summoned a fortress of death. From beneath the planet rose a structure that rained blood, unleashing millions of demons upon the world that began to slaughter the Tyranid foe. The hive mind quickly switched tactics. They surrounded the structure the demons had risen from and began to fight back. The biomass the Tyranids had consumed began pumping out new weapons to be unleashed. Hordes of artillery rained down upon the demons, smashing their ranks, pushing them back to the very fortress they had spewed from. Enraged, the greater demon of Nurgle sallied forth from the fortress, followed by plagues of death. His psychic connection was severed by the shadow of the warp, and through overwhelming firepower he was brought down, blown apart by Zoanthropes. With one of their own now dead, the greater demons grew frustrated with this war. Nurgle's plague had no effect on these foes. The blood that would normally honour Khorne was replaced by vile alien ichor, enraging his Pantheon. The Lord of Change himself abandoned the planet, fighting his way back to the ancient cradle and back into the warp. The greater demon of Khorne and the Keeper of Secrets led one last charge from the fortress with countless demonic followers. But again, the Tyranids were waiting in greater numbers. They unleashed punishing fire that battered and consumed the demonic lines. The Keeper of Secrets was destroyed. The greater demon of Khorne was sucked back into the warp. With him, he wrestled 3 Trigons as he roared his defiance. The demonic invasion was destroyed. The hive mind now turned its gaze on finishing what it came to do, consuming the world of Shadowbrink.